In PLG, there's this role called sales assist, or what's also being referred to as product-led sales. So your company might onboard people through an initial product motion, could be a free trial or something like that. And then at some point in time, the sales team reaches out, which could be during the trial, which could be long after when there's more people that reach a certain critical mass. But one way or the other, a salesperson comes in to guide the process further. That role is being referred to as sales assist, which is a little bit different from what sales looked like in the past. So where in the past, traditional sales focused on the figuring out what is the need of the customer and positioning an offer against that, in sales assist, it's more about guiding the user or the customer through the journey and making sure that they hit the different milestones within the product, as well as are able to navigate their own organization to become a customer in the end. So it's a very different role. It's therefore also often that these people don't have the title of sales assist. They'll be called something like an onboarding specialist or customer advocate or things like that, that are quote unquote friendlier terms for customers. They don't feel like they're being sold to. That's also not what the conversation is like. They're just being helped in getting value from the product and getting to where they want to be. This is sometimes a tricky decision to make, especially for a company that has been growing by sales in the past, because the general sense would be that it's always better to talk with a customer because then we can always sell more. But it's not necessarily the case, right? Because PLG is all about velocity. You want to get people to that moment of value. You want them to convert, become a customer, and then you can grow the account further from there. Now, whenever you bring people into that conversation, that becomes the price of it, the cost becomes very different, right? So can you actually triple your conversion rates? And is your pricing model a good fit for this as well? Let's say if your pricing is $20 a month for a user, you do not want to call that user, even if they've onboarded successfully and look like they'd be ready to buy, the unit economics would just never hold up. Whereas if they would buy for 300 a month, then maybe that would work, because you have to pay this salesperson as well. And you have to pay for the whole process around that. And therefore, it matters that you focus on the right customers. So what many companies do is they'll focus this on a specific segment. So a common one is like only for enterprise customers, right? So as soon as they've onboarded 10 or 20 users, then we'll start calling them, because then we know there's enough momentum to do that. That's a common one. But it could be different things, right? It could be they've installed a certain level of functionality or engaged, committed in a certain way in your product, and now they are good fit customers, right? It could also be combined with firmographics. And the point being that you do not typically want to do this for everybody, but only for a certain group. So segmentation can happen on the firmographics, but also on the behavior. And that's where the term product qualified lead comes in, which might sound familiar to some. A product qualified lead is a lead who has done, a user who has done certain things in the product, has shown behavior that shows that now the company knows they have a good chance of selling there. And this definition is different for every company. And it can be a really valuable segmentation instrument to focus your sales assist efforts. In the end, it all comes down to making sense of the metrics. So you have to figure out what is the right behavior to drive, right? Let's say I need people to set something up on their website in the beginning of my onboarding process. Now, I could call everybody there and help them get that set up, but it's likely that most of them will not convert because it's just too soon in the process, right? So this would be quite an expensive and probably unprofitable way of doing it. Whereas if I would look at those that actually had set it up and I start helping them get value out of it, then those would be much more qualified customers that I could focus my efforts on. And maybe in that case, it would make sense, right? So those are some of the things to think about. Don't assume it's always the right thing to do to call people. Like generally, it wouldn't make sense for all your customers, but probably for a subset. So figuring that out is the most important thing.